That is slammed away.
Here's Gaze. Another alley-oop pass to Copeland. That's what we've been waiting for. Unbelievable timing on that. And it's the Tigers straight away. Gaze. Alley-oop to Copeland. What a start.
Welcome to the Ultimate Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Insight NBL Show, our weekly preview. As always, we are brought here today by the Standard Squeeze, Bonus Bank, and Ryan from Astute Newstead. I'm the Supercoach Matrix, and I'm here with my co-host, Hammer. Mate, how are you? 2 days in a row.
Yeah, we're back. It's good to be back after the break. It feels like another Friends episode, you know, the one where Ross was apparently on a break, and turns out he ends up with Rachel. So hopefully round 9 brings us what we want as well.
Well, I tell you who did got what they want. Rob's Punk in the chat has already got a good relationship metaphor. But, yeah, bit of a weird one. So we've had a week off. I feel like everybody's been a little, everybody did enjoy the break. I certainly didn't. I was just missing NBL basketball. But there's some people out there that enjoyed the break. So, look, we're going to preview the games. We're going to line up again. Yesterday, we did a schedule show. Now, we didn't do it live because it wasn't really relevant to answer questions along the way. We've went forward and we've covered the schedules all the way to round 20. Probably best to laughing at Rob's funk in the chat. Probably best to watch it yourself and just have a look. Like, maybe we target Kings players in round 16, so you know who you're going to look at. Of course, we're going to pivot along the way because we don't know, rises and falls along players, but it at least tells you what teams to target at what times. But we're still going to go through the most traded in and out. We're going to go through our own trades, and we're going to answer all your questions along the way. I'm ready for my own game of basketball. Up the mother lickers. I tell you what, that is old Greg on the shirt. And have you ever? Wait, where are we? Have you ever drunk Bailey's out of a boot? So,
wow, that is
got
to be the pride of C grade. That is sensational.
It's B grade and it is reversible too. So, look,
just in case.
Look, we are sponsored by the Standard Squeeze, and I just want people to know that our league code is 680481. We decided that halfway through the season we were going to cut this one off. So all our regular listeners have the biggest chance of winning, our 4-in-1s. A squeeze pack themselves. So we're giving away about $50 worth of prizes every week there. I'm not sure any other podcasters doing that. But mate, so do we just start heading into some of the other games?
Well, maybe it's worth touching on. Like, we've had a week off. Has this benefited some teams? Has it hurt other teams?
Look, yeah, I think somebody, and I could probably allude to it in the title. I think somebody like Bobby Clintman that tried to come back, didn't really work out, then went out another game. This break for somebody like Bobby Clintman could have been just what he needed to come back healthy.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that I think will benefit from it. New Zealand's one. They've been shaken by injury. We've got another week closer to Zion Cheatham coming back. They've had a week to figure out how they're going to cover McDowell White, which is probably a whole lot more PJC, maybe some Liafa. Probably the team that hurts the most is Perth on a 5-game winning streak, breaking the momentum.
Yeah, I agree with you there. They have been rolling. And schedule-wise, this is the last big game for New Zealand, so I'm really hoping Lamb and Parker Jackson-Cartwright can put it together this week. Might even have a captain option in there somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. New Zealand, a lot of guys still holding these players. It's the last hurrah with them. I think we discussed that on last night's pod. But, the other one we probably need to have a talk about it is Southeast Melbourne. They're in a world of hurt. They got some great fantasy players. They're struggling to put together. Has the break helped them? Can we start to target them for their couple of doubles left?
Look, the issue with them is the schedule right now being round 9, and we do get to look for another, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But they come good in round 11 for a double game week, followed by 3 singles. So I'll probably look for a Source or somebody like that then.
Yeah. And the other one that it probably helps is Cairns. The great schedule still. They've been bitten by the injury bug. They really haven't had too many games where they've had their entire squad together. So maybe another week on the practice floor, we're going to start to see it's starting to click a bit more. Some of those turnovers getting cut down. That's a team that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, and I probably think will benefit from the break a lot.
I don't know. We're going to have a chat about starts and sits a bit later on, but this is another week of me starting Wardenberg.
And you know what? As much as I've carried on the last 2 weeks, I still haven't been able to do anything about it. He's still my starting centre as much as I hate myself for it.
Look, yeah, I've still got a couple boosts, but to me, it's not boost. Like, he hasn't been bad enough for it to be boost worthy yet.
No, he's just meh. And like we said, the schedule is the only thing making him half relevant. Like getting those. What is he averaging? Like 15 to 20 points over the last couple. It's the schedule that's the only reason he's there, and because a lot of guys have him.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. And look, I was wrong. I was about to call New Zealand versus Adelaide the toilet bowl, but then I realized Illawarra wasn't playing in this one. And 36ers now have one more win than Illawarra. But there's some teams that are going in after a pretty disappointing start to the season. Not all New Zealand's fault. I do think that they've been rocked by injury and kind of knocked around by those NBL, NBA games. Is there, apart from Parker Jackson Cartwright and Anthony Lamb, it is also a double game week for Adelaide. Is there anybody that you could get around targeting for Adelaide?
Not really. There's no player in Adelaide that I look at and I think, 1 week rental worthy. There's no captain options. There's no reason I'm bringing a guy in on those kind of schedules. But if you're looking at cheaper bench options, you might hold throughout the season. Maybe have a look at Adelaide, but I'm just not seeing a whole lot of value there at all.
No, me neither. And it's the 3 singles afterwards. Maybe I could look a little bit harder at a Wiley or somebody like that if it was, a double single and then a double game week or something coming up afterwards. I could talk myself into a Wiley or somebody like that. Maybe even boosting from a Wardenberg to a Wiley or something if we had a couple double game weeks in a row. But with the schedule, I'm not going near it.
How many standard squeezes have you had tonight, man? Boosting for a Wiley? Like, to me, Wiley is a bench player at best that you might swing into your starters at a pinch on a double. He's not great. He's popped up a couple of times to put up a good score, but would you trust him with the keys to your team? I don't think so.
I mean, I'm currently trusting Wardenberg. That's sorry. That's more what I was looking at. I'm looking for some solution that schedule permits. But it's not Adelaide this week either.
Yeah. And, I'd take Wiley over Mango Mathiang, who's still stinking it up on my bench centre spot. Take your pick of how you want to be screwed over this week. Mango or Wardenberg? They're your 2 options at centre for me.
I just do want to mention the time of the first game. It's 4:30 up here in Queensland, 5:30 daylight savings time. Obviously, because it's over in New Zealand, but I do love an early Thursday game. That's still on while I'm at work, so everybody sits around on a Thursday, has a beer, and watches the first half. It's pretty good.
Discounts all around. Hey, there's a question popping in, Matrix, from Global, and this is probably related to the schedule. We touched on this pretty heavily last night. Is getting rid of Pinder boost worthy? For me, who only has 1 boost left, there's not much that is boost worthy. But for someone like yourself who's got a few up your pocket, what do you reckon?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. But the question is who to? Like, if you're boosting him out for 1 week, you could probably cop a single and cop the loss. Like, unless, like, would you boost to Wardenberg the way that they've been going at the moment? Like, I know that it's double game weeks, but I reckon Pinder can nearly cover him on a single at the moment.
But that's also a lot of cash to be sitting there on a single. Look, we talked about it the other night. Perth have an absolute pus schedule. It's probably the worst schedule in the league over the next, I don't know, half a dozen rounds. So it's a priority to get rid of Perth. And for 350K, 380K, whatever Pinder's at now, you could do it more. Putting Pinder at forward gives you a lot more options than centre, which has been pretty lean for us. So, you've got Lamb this week, you've got Bannon, you've got some guys. There's not great long schedules, but maybe McCall. That's probably one of your better bets long term at forward right now.
And, like, who are you boosting him to is probably the question. Like, I can't see anything apart from 1-game rentals. Maybe getting if Hunter's still out, maybe a Jordan, maybe a Jonah Bolden or something for the double next week. Like, there's nothing really too exciting.
Where are you playing him globally? Is it centre or forward? And what are your other options? That's probably going to give us a bit more of an indication.
Mate, let's duck into Cairns versus Brisbane, and they'll answer in the chat just to keep it flowing. Speaking of centres, Brisbane has a heap of them. They have a double this week, but then go into 2 singles. That 3-centre rotation really knocks me around.
Yeah, and even if they were all performing really well, we've seen it from the preseason through to now, pretty much 40 minutes split between the 3 guys. Terrell's getting probably 20, 15 for Baines and 5 for Rocco, or give or take a bit on that. But no one's playing more than 20 minutes really out of those guys when they're all there.
And if you're looking at 1-game rentals, we're sort of so lucky at guard with your Millers and your Parker Jackson Cartwright. You probably already own him. I've probably got the luxury of sitting Doyle on my bench.
Yeah.
Do you think Sobey at sub 300K is somebody that you could bring in on a 1-week rental, or do you just load up on Cairns and set yourself up for forward weeks?
Yeah, I wouldn't be bringing Sobey in. We've got Shannon Scott coming back this week, so we'll see that dynamic play out again. Sobey's been better with Scott in the squad, but look, I really want to avoid 1-week rentals unless it's a captain option. Now, if you're bringing a JLA in, a source for a 1 or 2 week rental, you can do it. We talked about when to look at doing that on last night's pod, but yeah, that's a lot of money to tie up on your bench. You're on mute, Matrix.
Chris Smith is this week's field goal. Sorry, I was coughing in the background. I didn't want everybody to have to get COVID through the microphone. I'll save that for the defenders of people trying to defend me. I'll sucker and succotash in their face. But look, Chris Smith, he is fool's gold, right?
I wouldn't even put him in that category. He's untouchable. He's had 1 good game this season. I wouldn't see that happening again. I love the way that guy shoots the ball. His stroke looks pure, but I don't know if it's the system. I don't know if it's... Look, go back the last 4 or 5 years in Brisbane. Name a wing or guard player that's actually been able to play next to Nathan Sobey. It is such a difficult thing to play. He's so ball dominant that you just end up kind of lost. I don't
haven't really had anyone since like Lamar Patterson or somebody like that, really.
Yeah, and even that wasn't great in Brisbane. It wasn't, especially that second year he came back, it didn't really pan out. And they played him at the 4 spot a lot. Yeah, look, I think Chris Smith is fool's gold at best.
Mate, we've got David on. Do it for Jack. Of course, we are. Get on Twitter, tweet us out. Cost us a few bucks, everybody. If you'd like to, for every view we're getting live, we're going to be donating $1 to Hummingbird House. But will Wardenberg's value still rise if he gets 2 15s? Let me just check. I wouldn't think so. But let me just check Wardenberg's break even. And have you heard anything on Hunter, or is Jonah Bolden actually becoming a little bit of a play?
I haven't heard a thing about Hunter. And if he's out, Bolden's about your only other option there. DJ Hogue will probably play a few more minutes. He's about their only other legitimate big on that team. He's deceptively big, plays like a guard. He's 6'11". But yeah, Bolden's been coming on, and he's had some sneaky good stat lines. He accumulates those boards.
Yeah, no, he's good, and he's. You know what? If you were boosting for anyone, it could be somebody like that. It could be a punt. Not really that well owned at the moment. I'm going to have a look at his ownership stats at the moment. And to answer Rob's punt questions before, Wardenberg has a break even of 52. So if he gets 215, he is going to start losing value.
Yeah.
But it's about just having a guy, for me, it's about having a guy that's on doubles for the next 4
that
weeks?
Break even over 2 games. It's not horrendous just yet. Like that's a 26 each game, which is, I was hoping that would be his floor, right? Like, let's hope over the break this guy has learned how to catch the ball again. Otherwise, he's in some serious trouble and probably going to end up in B grade with Matrix's team. But
I could use a center actually.
What's the average height of center in B grade? Are you playing the 4?
Oh, you know what? I'm playing point. But yeah, look, probably 6'3", 6'4", to be honest.
That's generous. Okay, good.
And it's B grade. Please give me some credit. Look, we're talking about the Connor Tracy pod next year, and apparently I look like a pure stroker. I've got no idea if that's got anything to do with basketball as well.
Certainly does.
Phil Unfiltered, the biggest Jordan Poole fan here in the chat, is mentioning whether the risk is with Bolden is whether he can stay out of foul trouble. It is. Means good things for DJ Hogue, and I could nearly be talking myself into DJ Hogue live on the chat at the moment. I delved so much into the schedule, I hadn't really looked at my own team too much. It could be the perfect segue into Perth versus Sydney, but there's a fair few singles this week, and Sydney have a valuable double next week, where there's only a couple teams with a double apart from Cairns, and I'm just really worried about what we can do with just everybody having 5 Cairns players. I just wonder if I need to take a punt on somebody like Hogue.
Is DJ Hogue the right option for those wanting to pivot away from Lamb? Similar price, it's very doable without having to have too much cash in the bank. That's probably an option that I'd be looking at next week. But you're right. Loading up on Cairns, you're playing the schedule, which is great. But if you can get guys on the schedule outside of Cairns, there's your point of difference. And we've seen teams like, if Cairns have a stinker and you've got 5 Cairns players, they're all going to have very low scores. So, maybe we need to diversify a little bit. Not too much, but it comes back to that question we ask every week. How many players from Cairns is too many?
And DJ Hogue, and I'm doing it live in the chat, actually. DJ Hogue is only 2% owned. I've made some mistakes this year, but I think DJ Hogue is not a mistake.
No. He's had a slow start to the season. He's injured. He came in a little underdone. He wasn't in the same shape he was when he was Cairns, DJ Hogue. In Cairns, this guy hit the whole stat sheet. And we've talked about it. We've talked about guys like Goulding, and Goulding's actually having a really good season by his standards, but unless he's dropping 35 points, he's not scoring 35 Supercoach points, right? DJ Hogue, he gets the block shots, he gets the steals. He was a defensive player of the year candidate going back to last season. You know, they're worth the bigger points in Supercoach. He's got the green light. He's going to be jacking that shot up all day long in Sydney. They play at a high tempo. They put on Supercoach points. He rebounds. And if we got some of the bigs out or in foul trouble, you're relying on him to get the boards. I think you've talked me into it.
Yeah, sounds good. Is there anybody else from Sydney that you're looking, like a Jalen Adams or anyone like that? Or is that more of a discussion for next week?
Look, not looking for this week, but yeah, let's put that aside for a minute. Jalen Adams, DJ Hogue, Jonah Bolden, they're probably the three that I'd look at from Sydney. Outside of that, you're looking at role players who they do it by committee. They pop up one week, and then, you know, you had Noy one week. He hit like 7 threes and was the man. And then the next week it's Angus Glover. Then it's Sean Bruce. You know, you never know who you're going to get.
It's like a box of chocolates.
Yeah. Outside of Adams and Hogue, you know they're going to get theirs generally. The rest of them, it's, you know, whoever's got the hot hand, let's ride it.
When it comes to Perth, you mentioned that maybe you're getting rid of Cotton this week. More schedule-based than form-based.
Yeah.
Do you have, and, you know, there's some guys in the chat, you know, saying, do I boost for Pinder? Corey Blackledge is now asking what I think of his trades, trading out Pinder. Is there any way that you can keep anybody from Perth through this period?
Well, that's a two-part question. Like, Corey's trades, love it. You know, McCall, he's going to have the schedule, guard forward eligible, especially getting to forward, where we've said it week after week, that's the weaker position compared to the guards. And Pinder and Magnay, you're saving a whole heap of cash. Magnay I wouldn't start, but I'd have him on the bench. He's going to accumulate some cash. His points per minute's off the charts. But yeah, you're right. The Perth schedule is so bad, and the players that you'd probably target from Perth being Pinder and Cotton, too much money to have tied up on your bench. The only one I'd possibly look at holding a little longer is Doolittle, just to ride out that cash.
And we'll probably answer some questions about, look, we like the Hunter to McCall. We like probably Pinder to Magnay as well. We'll probably answer that when we delve a bit deeper into your jack jumpers in a little bit. Look, we've now got another person putting up profile pictures of me. Thanks, Brano. Appreciate it. Look, let's go to our first game on Saturday, 4:30 in the afternoon, Southeast Melbourne versus New Zealand. We have talked about New Zealand. We have talked about Southeast Melbourne a little bit, but with a couple of singles coming up, like you've got single this week, single next week, you're just going to have to deal with not owning maybe the best Supercoach player at the moment, which is Source.
Yeah, and schedule-based, you wouldn't touch him. But against New Zealand, who's going to stop him? You know,
yeah.
Do you put Lamb on him and then risk a bit of foul trouble? They've shown that they're hesitant to play Mango more than about 10 minutes. Dane Pinot's had a bit of a run, but, you know, I think Source is going to have a field day. The matchups, it should be in favour of Southeast Melbourne, but yeah, that's a tough game. Both desperate for a win.
If you were desperate to bring in Source, there is a world where you can bring him in for a great matchup against New Zealand if you have the luxury of maybe sitting him on the bench, or maybe he outscores, you know, somebody like Wardenberg on a double against New Zealand. Next week, basically everybody is on singles anyway, so you've got Source already for that. Heading into 2 doubles, I don't. If you're probably the question is, if you're more comfortable that Source is going to score more than a Wardenberg double, I see a world where it's okay to bring Source in this week.
Yeah. If you're going to hold him for that 4 rounds like you talk about, it's doable. Maybe you got to do the math on over 4 rounds. How many games does Wardenberg have versus Source? And then what can you do with that extra cash? It's tempting. I know where you're going with it. And we talked about it last night, doing a single and then a double with JLA. That's doable. This one This is a stretch, I think, but you need to weigh that up yourself.
Yeah, well, he's going to play 2 extra games. And like the guys are in the chat saying, like, if Wardenberg's going to be averaging 15s, then there's then it's true. Then that's something that you can do. But if Wardenberg, jags a 29 or a 30 in there, yeah, it becomes really hard to manage.
Yeah. But for me, Wardenberg's the hold for at least another 2 weeks. And then I'm really going to look to just try and rent that centre spot with captain options. There's 2 rounds where JLA becomes viable, 2 rounds where Source is viable. Maybe you just got to hold it out and hope to get to those points in the schedule where you can actually get rid of him and have the cash on hand to do that.
And yeah, that goes with Global, just saying with the center position being a little tricky, is it worth playing Source or JLA for the rest of the year? I think that there's not anybody good enough that you can do that. It's definitely a bold strategy, and kudos to you if it pays off. But I just think that you're going to be making those trades. Like 1 week, you're going to want JLA, and it's going to be worth a trade to go, Source to JLA or something along those lines. I don't think there's such a thing as set and forget as there is in other Supercoach formats in NBL.
I think what you can do though, Matrix, if you have a pretty set team and maybe a couple of boosts up your sleeve, I think you could almost change that centre position out weekly or fortnightly as needed. Like after this next 2 weeks, we could possibly, and I haven't got the schedule in front of me and it might not completely work out, but JLA, Source, Sam rolling, if you've got the trades to rotate between the 3 of them at centre for the rest of the year, and maybe a Magnay on a backup if he starts to hit some form, that's doable. There's a bit of money involved, but if you're happy with the rest of your squad and you got your 1 trade plus a boost to do something else, that's not the worst option.
Mate, let's look. He's come up a few times in the chat. You've just mentioned the man's name. New Orleans Pelicans legend, Will Magnay. Tasmania playing Adelaide. Mate, Will Magnay he's 203K and has a negative 18 break even. That is gold, right?
It is. I wish I had him in at my backup centre instead of Mango. With that negative break even, if you take him as just a cash cow for 2 weeks, he'll still keep making cash. Tassie have a couple of doubles left. He'll get you some points. We talked about last night the relationship or the minute split between Marcus Lee and Magnay. How do you see that playing out, Matthew?
Look, I see Marcus Lee probably playing like 23 minutes and Magnay 17, or like a 21-19 split, or basically pretty even is how I see it. And they'll ride the hot hand maybe, but Magnay, you mentioned how well Magnay dominates weaker oppositions, whereas Marcus Lee can just be that guy that does the dirty work out there with your Crawfords and your Doyles, your real stars from Tasmania.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect situation for Magnay. He's never had another genuine centre, and maybe he's not cut out to be the starting centre because of his foul trouble. But maybe if you go with a cricket analogy, Braino will love this, where you send the guy out to just weather the new ball, and then Magnay comes in once it's worn in, and he has a good old tonk and plays against the spinners.
Yeah,
It's working for him.
You know what? I didn't know you knew so much about cricket.
Just call me the night watchman,
mate. As long as Will Magnay's wearing a box, I think that's all good. I'm probably going to be, and Global's in the chat saying that he's going to get rid of McVeigh. I did have a couple Tassie players. I'm probably looking at getting rid of a McVeigh myself, but maybe just letting Doyle sit there on the bench. He goes off in some games. I'm going to be getting half scores. I'm okay with, holding a 300K guy on my bench. Tassie's schedule comes good in round 11. They've got a double game week, and then it's time for Uncle Milton probably to go. But yeah, round 9 and 10, I'm going to be holding singles on the bench on Doyle, and then getting him. He's a captain option in 11 and 12 for me, and then punting him. So
yeah, that's probably the point you got to let go. But it's not the worst thing in the world that if you can afford to have a 300K guy on your bench, because what it means is if you then want to target a JLA, a source, with one trade, you can free up a lot of cash if you downgrade and then pivot with your second trade to these sort of rental captain options. It's good, man.
Do you think that what's like Adelaide haven't been very good? They've had 4 wins, 7 losses. Where do you see matchup wise is strong against Adelaide? Like we've got New Zealand and Tassie playing Adelaide this week. New Zealand's on a double. I suppose what positions are Adelaide weakest at? Like DJ 3J couldn't guard his own shadow from what I can see.
No.
Not fantastic. But
Yeah.
like where do you see opponents will target when they're playing Adelaide? Everywhere?
Adelaide don't have a backup centre. There's Humphreys and then there's Tui Smith-Milner at best. All right, so we're talking about a Magnay with Tassie coming in against the second unit. I see him having a good time. Adelaide, their power forward, Jacob Wiley, he's all energy. And Anthony Lamb, I would expect to be able to take that matchup, although they're both quite mobile. The guard plays where it's at with Adelaide. You look at McCarron is a shadow of his former self. Used to be pretty solid defensively. He's been a little leaky this year, but has he have 2 good guards? One of them's going to go off. Kadee couldn't guard his own shadow. Who else they play at guard? I feel like Adelaide are pretty leaky. DJ 3J won't be able to guard any of them. Milton's going to go off. Yeah.
Not a captain option because it's on a single, but it is something that you can look at that it could be, it could be pretty good.
Yeah.
But a team that probably the same as Perth. I'm so disappointed in the schedule, and I'm going to have to get my last Melbourne player out this week. Melbourne are playing Cairns on a single. Look, again, it's so relevant to talk about the schedule. They're not on a double until round 11. They're like little islands in there with doubles, and then a sea of singles afterwards.
Yeah.
You've got to send your carrier pigeon home to see the next double. But you can't really hold anybody unless you think they're going to generate a lot of cash from Melbourne, can you?
I don't think we touch Melbourne outside of maybe a 1-week rental or a 2-week rental on, either side of that double. And that's only JLA I would half consider as a captain option. Outside of that, Melbourne's run their course. We talked last night extensively about who's disappointed us the most. Travers was in there. Great game last game, but where was he? The 7 or 8 doubles we had in the first couple of weeks. Melbourne's probably not even worth talking about really, unless we're talking 1-week rentals from now on.
Yeah, and back to Cairns, can you overlook McCall? Like I'm kind of looking and the McCall situation. If I was to get in somebody like Hogue, it would be not to get somebody like McCall. It'd be pretty hard to overlook somebody like that. It would mean starting like a Bannon on a double or somebody, which, he's been getting 25. He's probably just as likely to get 50 as much as McCall is of getting 60 in 2 games.
What's that saying you always butcher? Mukasa Sukasa, why not both? That doesn't mean that.
Something to do with tacos.
I'm thinking we can go with McCall and DJ Hogue, and that's probably my plan. That's something to look at. McCall's got the schedule. DJ Hogue, you get him while the schedule permits. I don't hate it.
No, me neither. Actually, a really good question in the chat. Can you start Taron Armstrong on a double?
You could. Would it be a good idea? I don't know. He's frustrating, right? He was meant to come back to Australia and be the second coming of Josh Giddey.
Yeah, he's got a 3-round average of 26, which isn't bad. Like I don't know. Like he's only had 16, but he was really ordinary in those first couple games. I'm not comfortable starting him yet. I'd start him over maybe a single game week if you load it up somewhere, if you think you're going to hold a Cotton or someone on the bench. But yeah, no.
Yeah. I was hoping, and I was actually predicting he'd come back and average 7 or 8 assists. The way he passed the ball in college, I thought Cairns was the perfect situation. And it hasn't translated, and maybe it's because they don't have shooters. There's not a whole lot of shooting on that team. He's not getting those easy sort of half assists that he really didn't contribute to, but he's passed it to someone on the perimeter and they've jacked it up. Wardenberg hasn't hit the backside of the barn in weeks. Taj McCall can't shoot outside of 2 foot. Bull Qual's been hit and miss. Menenga hasn't hit a 3 in a couple of weeks. He's having to work for his assists. I don't know what his numbers are, but I'd say he would not be averaging more than 3 assists a game. And if that changes, then he's startable. Until guys hit shots, and we're still working through that relationship or that minute split or how it's going to work with him and Miller, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I actually think Bobby Clintman coming back, and we expect. We're just leaving that one there, Hammer.
I did see that, Phil, and I elected to stop.
I do think that Bobby Clintman, if he's playing, could really help Taron Armstrong out.
Yeah. I think Clintman's, like you said, maybe he's the one who's going to benefit most from this break. Had some niggles, came back, played a couple of minutes, dropped in price. But he's got a role. I feel like he should be playing 20 minutes a game, swinging between the 3 and the 4 spot on that team. And he has done well when he's got the minutes. His game translated, Supercoach friendly.
Last game, Brisbane versus Illawarra in Brisbane. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing on Sunday. Maybe I duck out and have a little bit of a look. Look, I might have a little bit of a chat to Ulbrich. Might see, hey man, I think.
Hey man,
I think if you, hey, yeah, look, I reckon I can get in his head, and I reckon I can get the best. I reckon I can get the best out of Lucky Ulbrich.
Yeah. Look, you've got a long, extensive history. We've coached together, and I used to give you projects of, the little emotional egos to massage. How would you deal with an Ulbrich? What are you going to say to him?
Look, when he gets out there, it looks like he's just trying to do a little bit too much when he gets the ball. It's like he panics when he gets it, and then people tend to not pass it to him, and he's just doing cardio. Just needs to, Pidgeotto just needs to chill out, know his role, know he's a rookie, and his minutes will come. Yeah.
Look, the inside word I had out of Illawarra at the start of the season was they're very high on him, and he's possibly a season away, though. I got excited when they started playing him, and he showed a lot in the blitz. We got to remember, he's young, he's a rookie. He's probably on at least a 2-year timeline to see what we're getting, and we've probably got a bit ahead of ourselves there.
If I could boost Phil in the chat, look, Lockie, sometimes it's not the fouls you spend, it's the fouls you save. If I could boost Ulbrich to Magnay and still get, I'm wanting to bring in blokes like Miller and Hogue and Taj McCall. If I could find a solution there somewhere, I would boost Ulbrich to Magnay in an absolute heartbeat.
If I had a spare boost, I would boost Ulbrich to Phil Unfiltered for that last comment.
Sounds good. We've targeted Brisbane already. There's nobody really that we're looking there, except I do think that people are thinking of Bannon as this 69K player. He's definitely playable on a double. He's been good. Yeah.
He's been
solid. Bannon's playable on a double.
Well, this is it. This is like the battered wife syndrome. You just keep making excuses for him because you love them. We're making excuses week after week for Wardenberg when he's given us 15s. How is Bannon not startable when he's given us almost 30 every week?
Yeah, his average is 3 or 4 more than Wardenberg, and Wardenberg was red hot there for a little while. And Bannon was injured and walked in with a 7. So
I have no qualms at all about starting Bannon. Not every week, but on a double, I'll bring him in. he's been great. He's the one who's made me feel better about myself after missing out on Galloway from Sydney. He's redeemed my faith in this game.
Sounds good. Do we want to look at the most traded in?
This is why I'm hot.
Sorry, that's a new.
You gotta warn me, man. You can't spring that kind of thing on me.
Yeah, you know what? I actually didn't know if Braino had done it yet. I just found it. So yeah, thanks, Braino. I know you're in the chat, and look,
while you're working on them, Braino, get us a fool's gold one as well.
Yeah, I've asked him. We just haven't worked out a quote from a film or anything, so we got to work that one out. Will Magnay is the most brought in player this week. 18% of people are bringing him in. He's already went up 29K. He's got a negative 18 break even. I can get around it.
Yeah, on it, over it, around it. That's self-explanatory. If you've got the wiggle room within your trades and the structure of your team and you can do it, go your hardest. That's a great move.
Patrick Miller as well is coming in by 14% of teams. It's somebody I've been looking to bring in. I'm not 100% sure I like the matchup against Cairns with Shannon Scott coming back in. But look, I think there's definitely worse trades. I think Patrick Miller's been phenomenal. He's averaged nearly 30. You got to get him.
I'm bringing Paddy Miller back in. We've just made up. All's forgiven after he went out injured for that game. Yeah, look, and he's a captain option. He's a stud. And have I mentioned his arms?
No, you've mentioned his cannons.
Lovely.
He is. He's averaged 33 this year. So Patrick Miller, you definitely understand that he's red hot.
Yeah.
Taj McCall has he's dropped 41K. Played really well in the last round. 8% of people are bringing in Taj McCall. And again, with that schedule, even though Paddy Miller and Taj McCall are both north of 330K, you can get around it.
Yeah, the schedule allows for it. And we've said all along, Taj McCall's not going to die wondering. This guy's going to go out there. He's going to throw himself on every loose ball. And sometimes it comes off big and sometimes it results in 15 turnovers. But that's the roll of the dice. You just hope it's the former, and he hits the boards, he gets the steals, he'll block some shots. He probably won't hit a shot outside of 2 foot, but he'll play hard.
Good catch in the chat. Corey just said that I said Cairns are playing Cairns. Mate, I don't even know where I am, to be honest. Obviously a bit crook if you're watching in the chat. I keep muting it to mucus to the side, so that's hot.
Talking of favourable matchups, I would love to be playing against your team tonight.
No, you wouldn't. You'll walk away. You'll walk away sick.
Illegal defense.
And yeah, you've seen me play. I'll get in somebody's head, and somebody will take a swing at me.
Usually your own head.
Look, Sam Kekovich, Anthony Lamb, 360K. He's gone up 84K. 6% of teams don't have him.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to bring him back.
Yeah, for sure. That's a no-brainer, that one. I'm still holding.
It's a 1-week rental.
Yeah.
It's a 1-week rental, though.
And he is a possible captain option.
Yep. Jacob Wiley, 5.6% of people are bringing in the Wiley Coyote. He's 230K now.
He's 230K because he's playing well below a new import level price. He's not the guy.
With an average of 14 from his last 3 matches, Jacob Wiley has recently averaged well below his 23-24 season average of 23.
He's not the import they needed. He's not the import we wanted. You know, this guy's a hustle guy. And I think when Adelaide brought him in, maybe that was the plan. They were going to go after a stud point guard. Didn't work out, and they're going to go after another player. never eventuated. So, you know, he was never meant to be the man, and I think this is what you get with him. Tell you another import that's underperforming, and there was an article on NBL.com today, is Josh Robertson Cairns. Came in as the
Oof.
third import, averaging 5.4 minutes a game, and I'm not sure if he's even had his first field goal this year. What's the story?
Yeah, he's been ordinary. Well, you know what? He hasn't been seeing the floor is probably the bigger thing. He's been ordinary for Supercoach. So
Yeah, there's calls for Cairns to go and replace him. They're a small budget team. I can't remember the last time they've even got an injury replacement import, that wasn't out of the NBL one. So I don't think he's going anywhere. But it probably is a good sign for the guys that we do have in our teams that, you haven't got another third import taking up time away from your McCalls, your Wardenbergs, those who hold Menenga. Silver lining.
I have noticed some really good questions coming into the chat, so I'm starring them there. I'll probably have to duck out a bit after 60 minutes, so we're going to keep moving along. Taron Armstrong, people keep bringing him in. 4% of people. You haven't missed the boat on Taron.
No.
Luke
And
Travis, do you understand
on.
people bringing him in?
Absolutely not. Look, he had a good game last game. One hot day doesn't make a summer. So back to the scheduling to that, it's a hard no from me, dog.
And here's this week's Fool's Gold. 8th on the list is Chris Smith.
Oh, no Trenton Flowers.
No, and Fool's Gold is a movie with Matthew McConaughey. So thanks, Global. The next one's Parker Jackson Cartwright. Yeah, the next one's Parker Jackson Cartwright. I understand people bringing him in, and 1.6% of people are bringing in Sam Wardenberg too. I probably wouldn't be yet, but the schedule's great. So,
yeah, look, Wardenberg's understandable. PJC, I think a lot of us have held him for a long time now, since pretty early on in the season. I probably wouldn't be bringing him in. We've talked a bit over the last couple of weeks that his form's been average. He had that really hot start of the season, and since then I feel like every game where he's got that 30 Supercoach points or low 30s, it's been a couple of moments late that's got him there. Like, I've been worried all game that he's going to get like an 18. He can put points on in a hurry, but I've always just felt a little bit, shortchanged. Like he should be doing more. He's still muted.
2 18s are still 36 in a double game week. So
yeah, which is not the worst thing unless you captain him.
Mate, that is the 10. Let's have a look at the most traded out.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting. I thought that he was going to drop it by top by Snoop Dogg, but anyway, that was surprising. Keanu Pinder is dropped by 14.5% of teams, and I understand why. High break even, underperforming, and poor schedule.
Yeah. If he's got the trifecta, why wouldn't you drop him? Free up some cash, move on.
Bryce Cotton's the next one. Extremely expensive. People are just looking to spend those cash on people playing doubles, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm in that boat. I think he tipped a bit over 400K. I made a little bit of coin on him. Probably bought him in at the right time when he turned his form around. He's run his course for me. I can't afford to have that kind of coin on the bench. And yeah, it was good while it lasted, Bryce.
Bobby Clintman is the third most traded out, and I think that this is a little bit silly. The break, that's why I made him the target. Like, everybody was so high on him. That's why he's owned. This is a rage trade. Rethink about it. If Bobby Clintman's ruled out this week, by all means, trade him out. But he's 216K. He's got upside. He's got the schedule. I think that if they say something about him playing this week, that he should be one of the most traded in, not one of the most traded out.
You know what? I can get around this. I did consider getting rid of Bobby. He's about 220K. I've only had him on the bench at my forward position. If I had an extra trade and could move some guys around like your Mango or your Wardenberg, would you go a Clintman to a Magnay? Look, I know the schedule's better, but this week's really going to sort of be the telling week for us if he plays.
You know what? After saying that, I was trying to find a way to bring in Magnay, so perhaps. But then again, just on a double, 216K. Like, we've got to remember, Bobby was somebody earlier on in the season that was scoring so well. Like, he had a week of 71. Like, he's got a 5-round average of 34. He just hasn't played.
Yeah. And why hasn't he played? Is it injury? And we know how our friends at the social media department at Cairns like to screw us over.
Those guys.
Are we going to get to the point where we have another 3 weeks of him? He's ready. No.
I hope not. I hope not, because I hate that. Yeah. I fucking hate the Cairns social media department. Fuck me.
I don't think anyone's fucked me over more than them in recent history, man. Like, they got me on Taran, they got me on Miller. You know, they keep telling me that Wardenberg's good.
Mate, do you think that it's just like the ball? We did talk earlier about Cairns being a low budget team. Do you think it's just the ball boy that's just got a Twitter account?
Yeah, possibly. You know,
Mate,
we're not fans of the same way Baines isn't fans of Cairns, man. This is step up.
Yeah, I'm off them. Jordan Hunter, 225K. If you're using that money to go across, you're probably okay to go to a Magnay. You're probably okay to go to a Bolden. There's some really good options to trade out the injured Jordan Hunter.
Yeah, and for sure, if you pivot to a Magnay, at the very least, it's a cash grab. You know, Bolden's going to be the beneficiary. How long that lasts, I really don't have a lot of intel on the injury to Hunter when he returns. You know, and then you've even got the option, you know, after Christmas to potentially pivot to a Zion Cheatham to target some of the doubles left for New Zealand, because he's forward centre eligible, and because he hasn't played for so long, he's still well in the 200Ks.
Milton Doyle is the most traded out. That's schedule related. I think I'm going to elect to hold on to him through the next little bit. He's just been a genuine gun at the moment. So,
yeah, and he impacts the whole stat sheet. We've talked about this at length week after week. He's going to be thereabouts, and he doesn't need to particularly have a great shooting game to put up a great Supercoach score.
Speaking of trades to our boy Magnay, Saar, Mango, our Huck Porty and Wardenberg all feature in the bottom 4 there. They're all people that people are probably going to Magnay, aren't they?
I'd say so. Yeah. He's just emerged as an option in a very weak position category. We've said it for a while that centre's weak, and all of a sudden here comes the great white hope, and whether he's fool's gold or not, we'll at least get a cash rise out of him for a couple of weeks if you can get on now.
Mate, we are. I'm loving the questions coming into the chat. I've been starring them, saving them for ourselves. But let's have a look at our trades.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
Mate, I think I've changed trades about 3 times during this chat.
Yeah.
But one situation where I would boost is if I can go Lockie Ulbrich up to a Magnay.
Lovely.
I'm electing to get rid of Jay Illy and Jack McVeigh, which allows me to get like a Patrick Miller, a Taj McCall, or a DJ Hogue. Now, if I brought DJ Hogue in, I have the luxury of starting Josh Bannon on a double.
Yep.
So I think I'd still be okay there. But that leaves Milton on the bench. I don't think going Milton instead of Shea Illy is enough for me to go Ulbrich up to Magnay now that Magnay's had his price rise and Ulbrich has been losing all that cash that he made us to start the year. Look, I could go a Bobby Clintman and move Ulbrich or Wardenberg up to forward if I could with Magnay. I don't know. I suppose what I'm saying is where I'll tinker is trying to boost Ulbrich to Magnay.
Yeah, and that's if you can afford it, that's a really, really good option. We're done with Aldridge, all right? It was an experiment. It failed. Magnay, we're going to make as much cash as Aldridge has lost back and we'll be back to where we were at the very least. Yeah, I don't mind that. My trades this week, I had Cotton. I rode his hot hand while it was there. I've traded him out for Patrick Miller with Cairns. We're going to ride the schedule out. And I had Justin Robinson sitting on my bench just marinating in his filthy low scores. I've finally managed to get rid of him for Taj McCall. My issue there is I've got Taj McCall tied up on the bench guard position. I haven't got a way to massage him into board until next week. So that's where I'm at right now. I may look at the Magnay thing for a bit of extra cash and see what I need to do next week. Maybe McCall's a better move in a week's time.
Is that boost worthy when you have one boost left? I don't know. I don't have that problem, but is it?
Thanks for reminding me. I would say no.
Yeah,
I think
you're right.
I think it's I think that boost is going to come in handy and be too valuable later on when I'm trying to get rid of a lot of Cairns guys, or if we have an injury or I need a captain option late. It's I wish I had at least another boost left, but it is what it is, and I made my bed. I got to sleep in it, right?
Yeah. Fuck. I'm looking at my trades. How about this for spicy? Let us know in the chat. You just heard what I'm saying. But I could trade out Lockie Ulbrich, Milton Doyle, and Jack McVeigh to bring in Willie Magnay, Taj McCall, and Jonah Bolden. So why I've got to do it that way is if I bring in Patrick Miller, I don't have enough money to go Ulbrich to Magnay. So, yeah, it still allows me to... I have to start Bannon then.
Yeah, I'm doing that. That's doable.
Yeah, but my previous trade was what I was going to be doing is I'm going to be starting McCall and Miller. Now I'm going to be starting McCall and Bannon, but it does allow me to get Magnay and possibly make 100K there.
I don't hate it. Do it. Pull the trigger. Talking of trades, though, we probably need to get in the Discord chat over today and tomorrow and really work out what we're doing with our community team, because that community team's doing better than all of us combined.
Yeah, that community team's almost top 200 at the moment. They had the 42nd highest score last week. So get in the community team, get in our Discord. The link's in the chat. And, look, have a dig, help us out. And there's Phil's Bolden. So let's see how I go there.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's more just finding a way to get Will Magnay and making 100K. Like the difference between Josh Bannon and Patrick Miller in the starting lineup, is that enough for me to miss out on making so much money that I think that we'll be able to make out of Will Magnay?
Yeah, look, I'm with you. That cash is going to be important, especially if we're going to look at some 1 week rentals moving forward. Because doing 1 week rentals, you have a little bit of a down game, you're going to lose some cash. So every little bit counts.
Captain, my captain. Go captain, my captain.
Mate, who are your captain options and who do you think you'll pull the trigger on?
Look, I'm tossing up between probably two guys at the moment. Paddy Miller and Anthony Lamb. Right now I've got the big C on Miller. I just think the roles there, it's good. We talked about the matchups with Lamb. He's got Adelaide. Wiley's mobile. Is it a good matchup? Is it not? I'm not 100% sure. he's been good lately, and does it change though? They're just going to start targeting him now. He's the man. Look, either way, I wouldn't be upset. But they're both going to go all right. Who have you got?
So I was thinking exactly the same, but now I've got this issue that I'm not bringing in Paddy Miller this week. Live in the chat. Great news! I've got Shea Ely playing a single this week. I'm excited about that now. But
With Dellavedova coming back.
Yeah, with Dellavedova coming back. So, whatever I make out of Will Magnay, I'll lose in Shea Ely, so that's great. But I'm probably... I could talk myself into Parker Jackson Cartwright as a captain or Anthony Lamb. Look, I've got Taj McCall there. I'm not confident enough in starting Taj McCall, even though Look, playing Brisbane, who are they going to put? Probably Bannon on him. Playing Melbourne, they might have a Luke Travis on him. I think I'm going to stay away from McCall and go a Lamb or a Parker Jackson Cartwright. It's hard to overlook Lamb looking at that 91 that he got last round, though.
Yeah, and that 91, that second game, it was a struggle. Like, I was really impressed that he racked up the scores that he did, considering how hard it was. Like, the opposition did a really good job forcing him away from his spots. The scoring wasn't free flowing, but he might have just missed or just got a double. He's a lot better player than we initially thought. He's hitting some stats.
Do you know how many points Will Magnay scored last week?
Giggity, giggity.
Giggity, giggity, gig.
69.
Look, I was in that section. I thought I may as 69. I thought I may as well use it. Let's duck into a couple of questions.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
Thanks for getting the questions in. A couple of shout outs to Global. Phil's Bolden and Tommy J is marinating, baby. But Corey Blackledge is in the chat asking, who would you field this week, Wardenberg or Mathiang? And I think you're in this exact position, aren't you, Hammer?
I am. That is such a horrible predicament to be in, and I hate that I'm in it. Look, I'm probably going to go Wardenberg. Mathiang he starts, but he doesn't play starter minutes, whereas Wardenberg's at least getting the opportunity to do something. Mathiang is, I don't know what's going on. He's so out of favour with Modi. He's a writer. Go Wardenberg.
If I can tell you anything, at least everybody has Wardenberg. At least everybody's going to suck with Wardenberg being there. Like, I feel like everybody who's serious about Supercoach and has a look, he is only 18% owned, but I feel like everybody that's, diving into the schedule and having a look, they're starting Wardenberg.
How owned is Wardenberg in the top 5% of coaches? That's probably where you need to look for that.
Let me have a look.
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
In the schedule, Mathiang, not getting the time. The schedule's not going to be as good. I really want to get rid of Mango. This Mango is no longer.
Now you answer the next question while I look up the stats.
Yeah. So Braden's asked. Think I'm going Cotton and Menenga, Miller and Magnay. Love it. Look, Menenga has probably should have been on our most disappointing list. He looked good in pre-season, and those early couple of games before they went to the States, he was like their starting centre. He was lefty who can stroke it from way out. He's built like a brick shithouse. He passes the eye test, but something's going on. His minutes have dropped. He's not producing. So that's a good one. Miller, I'm captaining him. Love it. So, great trade.
Now, to go back to your other question, if you had to guess, top 5%, how many percentage own Wardenberg?
50?
71.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So again, anybody who's anybody, has the disappointment of Wardenberg.
And everyone else who doesn't have Wardenberg probably still have Majok at centre.
You know what? Do you think that creates an opportunity to maybe move up some ranks with so many people owning Wardenberg? Like if Wardenberg comes out and scores a 10 and 10, which he probably has it in him. Look, if you can ride the hot hand, maybe be really focusing on targeting single game weeks on that Wardenberg. I hate that Brisbane's on a single game week because I'm not sure who I can find there to do it. But look, yeah, I'm just saying it's probably an anti-pot opportunity.
I like where you're going with it, but there just is no real clear alternative, is there? We've been searching for a better centre for weeks. You know, maybe on a double now for that kind of price, you can look at Magnay. But, like, it's one game we're looking at. You know, we're getting excited. Are we getting ahead of ourselves with Big Willie?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's
not the first time you've got excited over Big Willie.
Mate, I just wasn't quick enough to go to the giggity button. But look, we've got Adelaide, Brisbane, and New Zealand. I'm not seeing a glaring centre. I think maybe Humphreys will outscore Wardenberg, but it's not worth two trades. It's not worth trading him in and trading him out.
Yeah.
That's where I struggle.
100%. The set and forget factor with Wardenberg sort of cancels out a lot of the sins.
Yep, let's just all shit the bed together. The best captain options between Lamb, Miller, and McCall. I think we've answered this. You're going Miller, and I probably would go Miller if I had him, so I'm going Lamb.
Yep, perfect.
Global's asking if we're still chasing the cash or is it about time to chase the points? We're not even at the halfway point in the year. I think when an opportunity like Magnay and that big cash opportunity isn't going to pop up in NBL Supercoach very much because, you know, they don't just pull someone from, like this isn't rugby league. They don't just pull someone from Reggie's up to do it.
Yeah.
They bring their bench, they bring the backups with them every week. I think when a cash cow opportunity comes along, I think you've got to get on it, which is why I've kind of blown up my plans and moved heaven and earth to get Willie Magnay in.
Yeah. And it's the sort of thing that's going to come back and bite you. The guys who missed out on Galloway, you look at the team values, all the guys up the top of the most expensive teams got on him. They've got on Bannon. They're going to get on Magnay. And they'll probably get on Zylan Cheatham, who's about the only cash cow left once he comes back from injury that I can sort of foresee. In the past, your cash cows after your initial start of the season have been, you know, import replacements. We're just not seeing them come in this year. So, yeah, I don't see all that many opportunities to get huge cash rises. So jump on it while you can. And it's one play. You're not blowing up your team for it. You know, make that bit of coin and work your other 9 roster positions.
Rob's Punk is going into Lamb, and this might be the last question. Does he rate him too much? No, he's probably the second captain option that we've had a look at. I'm probably just going to go Lamb as well and just see what happens. It's hard to be high on him when New Zealand have been so bad when you actually watch New Zealand play.
Yeah, but in his favour, he's warming into the season nice. He's gotten better every week. And like we said, he's starting to hit more areas of the stat sheet than just scoring. So, look, I don't hate Lamb at all. It's, you know, on a week where there's not a huge amount of great captain options, it really comes down to him, PJC, and Miller. I wouldn't be completely upset if I captained any of those 3.
I like Lamb. Look, in my Weber, in my mouth, and in my Supercoach team. So that's about that. Look, I've got to go score the best 8 points you've ever seen in Toowoomba basketball. So I probably have to go. We right to wrap this one up, mate?
Yeah, that's a wrap. Good luck this week, everyone. Get into the Discord for the community team.
You've listened to an Insight Fantasy